Hi everyone, I'm Kim Trathen, business and marketing coach, and this is episode 25 of Girls Talk Business. This is actually the final episode for 2018, and I'm really excited to have my guest on today. Just to let everybody know, I'm super pumped that I decided I'm running a free 5-day challenge in January. So if you've been struggling to create social media content for your business, some people aren't sure what to say, maybe you're not sure how to plan it out. I've created a closed Facebook group called Master Your Content, and you can just request to join that, and I will be excited to add you to it. I'll drop more details soon on my Facebook page, but just wanted to quickly let everybody know that. Let's see, I'm going to bring Kristen Lynch on camera with me. Hi, Kristen. I see that you are there. Okay, I am adding you right now, Kristen. So you accept. And then we should, through the magic of the internet, show us a side-by-side split screen. I hear it connecting. Hi!
Hi, Kim.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm so excited to see you and have you on the show today.
Yes, I'm so excited to be here. Can you hear me okay?
I can. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, I can hear you perfectly.
Awesome.
Okay.
So I am just looking away for a minute because I am on my Chromebook over here, and I want to share this to my personal page so that our interview shows there also.
Okay, perfect.
Hopefully we'll have some people join us live as well. Okay, here it is. Now I can share this to my personal page. It looks like we have some people joining us. To let everybody know, I was super excited too because Kristen and I have never met before. And if you've ever caught the show, I've had women around the world on. So I was quite surprised when I found out that Kristen's about 2.5 hours away from me.
I know. So we definitely need to meet, by the way. If I'm ever on that side of the state, we're going to meet.
Yes, and my sister-in-law and brother-in-law live over near your neck of the woods, so sometimes I'm traveling that direction too. So I feel like someplace we will meet for a coffee or something like that.
We must.
That is for sure. It looks like Dawn is on. Hi, Dawn. Dawn was on the show just last week, I think it was. So that's amazing. Anybody who catches the replay, or if you're on live right now, share with us where you're watching from. I love, love, love to see where Girls Talk Business spans to. And if you're catching the replay, let us know that in the comments. Kristen and I'm assuming Kristen will too. We will both go through the comments after the show today and respond to everybody. I am just sharing this over on my personal page a minute. There we go. So, Kristen, I was just going to introduce you, Kristen Lynch, and you are owner of Goddess Brand Company, or do you call it Co? Which one do you use?
I call it Co, but you can call it either way. I just think Co sounds a little better, but
a little snappier.
Is good. A little snappier, exactly.
I love it. So before we talk about your journey and launching, why don't you explain to everybody what it is that you do as owner of Goddess Brand Co, and kind of explain who you work with, and how you serve your clients.
Okay, absolutely. So I'm Kristen. I am actually a yoga teacher, and I'm also the founder and current CEO of Goddess Brand Co., just like Kim said. And Goddess Brand Co. is a platform where I offer spiritually centered life and business coaching. So what that means is that I help women build businesses by first tuning into their story, their spiritual gifts, and their life purpose, so that the end result is that they have a business that feels fully aligned with who they are and what they're meant to be doing in the world. And what's really cool too is that any program that you do with me, you'll get both the business strategy, but you'll also get the spiritual guidance. So you'll actually come out of the program feeling more connected to yourself and more connected to your spiritual side, which is such a beautiful thing. And it's almost like double bang for your buck, right?
Yeah. Oh, that's absolutely amazing. And I feel like, that whole story piece is why I even launched Girls Talk Business, because I feel like there is so much power in everybody's journey, everybody's story. So I love that you really focus on like who this person is as a whole to figure out what business really aligns with them. Do you work with men and women, just men? Who do you work with?
So definitely primarily women. That's who I target in all my messaging and everything. But I actually recently have had a few male clients as well. I'm totally open to it, but my work is definitely guided, just with Goddess and everything, it's guided towards women, but certainly open to everyone who wants to join in.
Yes, I love that. Love it. So let's talk about your journey of launching Goddess Brand Co.
Yes.
You're quite young. and you got that entrepreneurial bug when you were pretty young too, didn't you?
Yeah, so really my story starts a long, long time ago, but the entrepreneurial story starts when I was 19 years old. So, which is really young, obviously, for being an entrepreneur. So I'm going to try to keep the story as short as possible because it's kind of a long one. So just bear with me. But yeah, so it started when I was 19. I had actually just got accepted into the Ross School of Business at U of M, University of Michigan, which is one of the top business schools in the country right now. So that was really exciting. And I was really proud and honored to be going there. But unfortunately, really quickly into the program, I became very burned out, very overwhelmed, very exhausted, and also very uninspired about kind of the trajectory of my life at that time. I knew that if I kept following in the same direction, I was going to be working a 9-to-5 job for the next 40 years in a corporate setting. And for me, that just wasn't exciting to me and felt really, really unfulfilling. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs can totally relate to that
Definitely.
sentiment, right?
Yes, yes.
So so the first summer after that program, I was like, you know what, I need a break. I need to just stop the cycle. So I decided to do a yoga teacher training program, which ended up totally changing my life. So at the time I invested, I think over $3,000, and I was in college. I had no income, and
Wow.
it was scary, right? I had to like borrow money from my parents and my grandma to make it work. But I did. I knew I had to do it. And so did that program, and after I was invited right away to start teaching, and I kind of realized that what I loved so much about teaching yoga was that I was really facilitating transformations for people. So at the time, I was kind of taking people from feeling stressed and burned out, giving them yoga skills, and then they felt better in the end. And I knew that being that type of facilitator was what I really wanted to become. And that's where I got the idea for Goddess Brand Co. So it was.
So let's pause a second.
Yeah.
You're in this pretty major business school. Like you mentioned, University of Michigan, pretty prestigious business school. You're in that, and then you go to your mom and dad, and you're like, our mom, parents, whoever it was, grandparents, and you say like, I really want to teach yoga. What was their response when you're in this prestigious business school? Did they understand that? Were they like, yes, we will loan you the money? Or were you met with a lot of resistance even at that stage?
So yes, I was met with a ton of resistance, I would say, at that stage for sure, because they were like, you're crazy. That's so much money to invest. Why would you do that? But I just knew it was like I had this internal calling that I just knew I needed to take action, and I knew I needed to do whatever it took, even if that meant going against what some of the closest people to me in my life said. And I think it always ends up that when you listen to yourself, you're always rewarded for that, right? Like,
yes.
Whenever you make that investment, you always make it back and then some, and it always leads you to the next step and to the next part of your journey. And it's so important to listen to your internal voice more than you listen to others, even if those are the people that really, really care for you and have your best interests in mind, right?
Yes. Oh, I totally agree. And I think that's what's so scary for a lot of people is being able to trust that, whether it's intuition, that gut feeling, whatever you want to call it. I think it can be really, really hard for people to trust that instinct, especially when there's a financial investment that they're making. It's much easier to trust your instincts when there's not a financial risk involved with it. But I think that makes it extra terrifying for a lot of people when now you kind of have to put your money where your mouth is, so to speak.
Yeah.
So that took a lot of courage on your end.
Yeah, so much. But what I will say is having the financial investment and having it be so scary is actually so important to ensuring that you become successful in the end. Because if you don't make an investment or you don't have to really get uncomfortable to do it, you're not going to take it seriously and you're not going to ensure that it works out, right? But I was so determined. Like, I spent so much money on this. I knew I had to go all the way through, and I needed to start teaching and making the money back and making something bigger out of it.
Yes.
So I think it's almost like fuel to make sure you for sure go through with it.
Yes. Oh, I think so too. I don't remember who I was talking to. Oh, I think it was actually my mom. But anyhow, I was just saying just recently that one of the recent programs that I invested into, it was a $1,000 program that I invested into. And at the time, I was a little bit like, we've just had a financially draining year in our family. And I was like, Cal, is this really the right time to invest more money into my development and my business right now? Or should I wait a couple months and let us recoup from some of these big expenses that happened? And I decided I just need to do it now. But then I was like, okay, now I need to make that money back. And I took one of the scary plunges of running my first, it was a beta program that I opened up, but I did one of my first group programs. And I thought, I just need to make this money back. Like there's no, oh, should I wait to do the group program? Do I not wait? Like you just dive in then because you have this financial, you know, like that extra fuel to the fire, that extra motivation. And within a couple of days, I made back like 600 of my $1,000 investment because you know, I was just determined that this is what I need to do. And it does it. It flips your mindset when you have that extra, like, I have to do this now. I am literally invested into this.
There's no going back.
No. So that's absolutely kudos to you because I see Dawn commented and she said, what a gift to realize that at a young age. Go, Kristen. I completely agree. Go, so Kristen. Sweet. It took me about close to twice your age to realize that. Yeah. So that's amazing that you were able to have that type of insight at such a young age. Had you been immersed in personal development at that point or anything that you feel like helped lead you down that road, or was it truly just ingrained within you?
Okay, can I also comment on what you just said for a second too before I get to that question? Because I love it so much. Okay, so I think it's so true what you just said because it's something that I teach my clients too is like starting before you're ready and showing up as the person you want to become now, right? So like, I don't know, I kind of like to say it as like the boss babe version of yourself. How would she be spending her money? How would she be investing in herself? You can't wait until you become that person because acting as if her now is how you will become that person, right? You have to start making the actions as the CEO version. It's not going to come unless you do, right? So the fact that you invested, that's how now you're able to be that person.
Yes, it makes such a big difference. And I just know for a lot of people, that's such a hard leap to get into. But it makes a world of difference. And I have said that before too, like even with having the confidence to go live on Facebook, there's a lot of women that I have worked with or talked with that are terrified. It's this whole different level of feeling vulnerable and exposed, and they're afraid of the comments or that nobody will watch. And, you know, but if you start thinking about that business person that you want to be, and if you want to have this following online and that is your platform, if it's Facebook or if it's Instagram TV, you know, whatever it is, you need to be visible. And I think part of having that confidence too is really thinking about that person that you want to be and start acting like that CEO of this business that you're growing. It's so powerful.
So true. Yeah, I could say it 1,000 times. Okay, so let me get back to the question too. So you asked about personal development and if that was ingrained in. Okay, so I think a big part of that was from the yoga teacher training program. I also took a lot of psychology classes in college and almost ended up double majoring in that. So huge interest in that, and just had my own personal calling to explore personal development. I read a ton of books and watched the Facebook videos and the blogs and all of that stuff, and just kind of almost like a self-study over the years was called to immerse myself in that world.
Oh, that's so awesome. So amazing. Now let's talk about, so you do this yoga training. How long was that program? How long was that certification that you did?
So normally it's 4 months. I did a condensed version that we finished in 1 month. So it was super intense.
Yeah.
So it was 200 hours in 1 month, but I'm glad that I did it that way because it just like built the momentum that much faster. And I was able to start teaching the following year during college and continue teaching all throughout college, which was really cool.
That's amazing. So when did you start thinking about, I know in your application, you had said, shoot, and I can't spot the sentence right here, but something about being able to combine your passions. You were interested in the personal development. You obviously had some business background. You're a very spiritual person. So when did you start thinking like, gosh, there's something different or something more or something is missing? I know I'm called in this higher direction. When did you start getting those thoughts of that it wasn't going to, I can't think of better words right now. I don't want to minimize what you were doing as a yoga teacher, but when did you realize there was something more than quote unquote, just teaching yoga that you wanted to begin?
So to be totally honest, it took months and months and months. It was during my senior year of college that I started to just get curious about how can I combine these two things that I love? How can I combine my business degree and this yoga teaching, spirituality, psychology, personal development, because I felt like there was a way to blend them together. And I felt like the two alone just weren't enough. It wasn't enough to just be a business coach. It wasn't enough to just be a yoga teacher. So I realized what I wanted to do was create Goddess Brand Co., where every program would include both a spiritual guidance aspect and also a business strategy aspect. So now all the work that I do, whether you work with me one-on-one or in a group setting or in a digital course, you're always going to get equal parts balance of spiritual guidance and business strategy. And
love that. Love it.
I've just found that in my own experience, in all my clients' experience, and in everybody in my network, that's where the magic happens, is when the work is totally 50-50, like hard and soft, spiritually guided, and very, very strategic and masculine and effort and hustle. That's where the magic happens. And that's where sales become effortless and your business really takes off, is right in the middle.
Yeah. Oh, that's so amazing. So as I said, one of the reasons that I wanted to start Girls Talk Business was to really dive into each woman's story and journey, because it's really easy to look at somebody online and be like, well, but she could do that because fill in the blank. She's, I don't know, came from a better family, came from more money. She's prettier than me. She's smarter than me. She, like all of these preconceived notions that we have about somebody when we see them online or we see their business flourishing. I think it's very common for people to assume that for some reason, like you have some special X factor that they don't have. Something made it easier for you to do this. But this didn't come easy for you, did it? There was a lot of internal work that you had to do.
Yeah. So just to start by reiterating what you said, I think it's easy to assume that successful people just don't have fear or don't have things that are standing in their way. And that's why they're successful and that's why I'm not. But the reality is, what makes people successful is that they have the same fears that we do, but they're willing to move forward anyway. And they know that the work they're being called to do is more powerful than any fear or doubt or limiting belief or whatever. So they move forward anyway. So that's the first thing, is just realizing that it's not easy for anyone and everyone has their own story. And for me, when my story really affected me is when I kind of built my business behind the scenes, but I was getting ready to launch. It was right when I was graduating from school. That was right when I launched. And that's when the fear started kicking in like crazy. So there were a few different places. First was family and friends. They were kind of saying, you're not ready for this. You need to go out and get professional work experience. And you just might as well not even try right now because you're too young. It was also.
Can I make one comment on that?
Yeah, of course.
I don't know if this is your family situation or not, but I know that it's very, very common, as you said a little while ago, for family to express their concerns. And it often does come from a place of love and fear and worry, and they want the best for you. But so in your specific case, how many of those family members are in the coaching industry or run an online business? Because for me, that answer was zero.
Zero.
Okay, so we are saying Z's on that. And I think it's really interesting that I think that's very common. It's not just you and me that had that, where we had family expressing these concerns, but it was really people who knew nothing about the industry that we were trying to get into. And I think sometimes those negative thoughts get in your head because you hear that coming out of the mouths of your loved ones, and it's people that you love, and it's people that love you and respect you, and you respect them. But sometimes I think as entrepreneurs, you need to take a step back and really think about, where is this person coming from, and do they even know anything about the industry I'm trying to get into? Because it's not really a valid, I don't want to say their opinion isn't valid, because they want you to think about all scenarios, but you kind of have to weigh it when they don't even know anything about the industry that you're trying to go into.
Of course. And I think, what you said about realizing that everybody's just kind of doing the best they can, and everybody is, given what they know and what their experiences are. So I think you have to honor that and like kind of send the love and compassion that you can send to them, but ultimately listen to yourself the most, because that's the most important voice you can listen to, right?
Yes. Oh, for sure. For sure. So you're hearing some of that. Negativity sounds like such a negative word.
I know.
But you're hearing some of that pushback about your dreams. How did you get through that? How did you know to rely on your own gut instinct? Was there anything, did you have to like really sit down? Did you journal about it? Did you think about it? Did you talk with them about it? Did you decide that you just needed to listen to your gut and go for it? What did that look like for you personally?
Okay, so I actually have, I don't want to call it a formula, but it's like a 3-step process almost for getting through it. But if it's okay, I want to just share 2 other big pieces that were really holding me back, and then I'll kind of walk through the formula, if that's okay.
Love it.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so the first was kind of family, friends pushback. Second was I was afraid of doing this because what I wanted to do was really different. It wasn't just ordinary business coaching. It had this spiritual side to it. And I thought people might reject that because they weren't familiar with it or it seemed really different or out there or something. So that was really scary for me too. And the third thing was self-worth issues. So after doing some thinking here, I realized that a lot of my self-worth issues happened from or stemmed from a traumatic experience I endured during my teens, which was when I was diagnosed with an eating disorder when I was like 15 or 16 years old. And the thing about eating disorders or any mental health disorder is that you can heal the eating disorder on a physical level, right? And restore your weight and whatever. But with any trauma, there's a huge emotional component that can take decades to fully recover from, right? And so even though I restored my weight and got back to a healthy pattern with eating when I was 15 or 16, the emotional level was still affecting me when I was 19, 20, 21. And a lot of that was on a subconscious level. So it was hard to make the connection, right? And it was hard to see that it was still holding me back. And these thoughts I was having or limiting beliefs I was having or feeling like I wasn't pretty enough or smart enough or educated enough or whatever, those thoughts were really sabotaging my efforts to put myself out there and launch.
Yes. Oh, that had to have been really, I have not dealt with an eating disorder myself, so I can only imagine how difficult that was, though, at such a young age going through it, which I think is very common. You know, I think a lot of people with eating disorders, there's a lot of young girls that fall into that bracket.
Unfortunately,
Unfortunately, it's all too common. But then to have those deep underlying insecurities, self-worth issues, to have those carry through with you for so long. Do you feel like now you look back with some clarity? Do you see it more clearly now looking back when you were 17, 18, 19 and how that was affecting you at that time, even if you didn't see it then?
Totally. Just, I can totally see how I made certain decisions out of kind of fear, having those lingering emotional issues and blocks holding me back that at the time I didn't realize that's why I was making those decisions. And now I'm like, oh, that makes sense. That's why I got into that mess or whatever.
Yeah.
And you know, now I feel so much, I feel so far from that stage, which is amazing. But I don't know. I just want to go back to that person and like send her so much compassion because it's just breaks my heart that I had to go through that or any other young woman had to go through that. It's a tragedy.
And isn't it, I think it's funny when you have such a drastic change in your life, like you just said, you know, I feel, you know, I wish I could go back to that girl and talk to her. And it's a little bit mind blowing for me how when you change throughout the years, and especially like a major change like that, a major life event that you've gone through, it does almost feel like you become this completely different person, especially as you get really immersed in the personal development. And I think sometimes it was not awkward, but I would be around people that I had known for my whole life, and I would feel like I had all of these internal changes happening, but they couldn't see them on the outside as I dove really deep into personal development. But you feel like you become this completely different person than you were previously. And it is funny, like I'll look back at pictures of myself from even 5 years ago, and I'm like, God, who was that girl? Like
I know.
It's mind-blowing to me how much can change. And I'm much more comfortable with it now, but there was this strange, I would almost call it like this transition period when I really started getting into personal development for the first time. And that's when I felt like I was this tower of Legos that was crumbling on the inside and I was rebuilding, but my family and friends couldn't see that. And so I felt like there was kind of this like in limbo kind of disconnect. Like I suddenly felt like they didn't really know who I was anymore. It's strange to go through that kind of metamorphosis.
It is so strange, but I feel like it's so essential that as coaches or as mentors, we've been there so that we can really empathize with our clients and hold the space for them to be in that themselves. And then we can really facilitate, like I said before, like facilitate the transformation for them just as we've done it ourselves. I think it's so important that we all have that experience ourselves.
Yes. So when did you start to realize how much the emotional and the mental kind of wear and tear from that eating disorder? When did you actually like realize like, wow, this is still deep seated within me. This is still weighing me down or affecting my decisions. When did that really become prevalent to you?
I think it was back to that time when I was just about getting ready to launch. And obviously that's a time where it's scary for everyone.
Yeah.
But it felt for me like there was another layer of fear that was abnormal from what other people were dealing with. And I was like, God, why is it so scary for me to do this? But I realized putting yourself out there means like you are opening yourself up to receive like anything from the world, any potential negative reaction, any, negative comment or whatever. And when I was already giving those comments to myself, I didn't feel like I wanted to hear that from anyone else, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that was the time when it was kind of a wake-up call that I needed to do some inner work so I could be in a position to confidently launch and put this out there and feel really good about it.
Yes. And what did that inner work look like for you? Did you go to retreats and conferences? Did you change who your friends were? Did you dive into the personal development books? What did that look like for you personally?
Okay, so this is the little 3-step process that I want to share with you guys.
Yes, and I'm going to jot these down as you say them so that I can update the description after the live to include these also. So
okay,
I'll be looking down while you talk.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, and everybody else who's watching, feel free to write this down too and steal the method because it works really well. So I call this like my method for ditching the drama, but that could be anything. It could be fears, it could be negative stories, it could be excuses, whatever. So the first thing is that you have to be willing to face it. So I think a lot of us try to run away or we try to ignore it or stuff it down so we can just get rid of the fear. But the goal isn't to actually get rid of the fear. The goal is to let it come to the surface and be willing to almost work with it and use it as fuel rather than to run away from it and pretend it's not there. That's never going to work. So
yes.
First step is let it come up and just be aware, just sit with it, just acknowledge it. And sometimes just by acknowledging the feeling or acknowledging the story, that can sometimes be enough to release it fully. But there's other fears that are really pesky and need a little bit more work. So step 2 is to think about where they came from. So that's like tuning into your life story and thinking, when was the first time that I felt like this? How old was I? What was happening in my life? What was I learning from friends, from family, from school, from culture, whatever? And am I willing to forgive myself for holding on to the story since it first started? But usually it's like when you're in your childhood or your teens.
Mm-hmm.
And can I forgive everybody else who may have been involved and realize that they were just doing the best they could at the time?
Oh, I love that. Love that.
So that's where you really start to release the story on an energetic level. And then the next step and the final step is that you get to rewrite it. So that is basically, what are you choosing to believe now? And what's the new story that you're writing for your life? So maybe that is, I'm going to do this work because I'm called to this and I'm going to be rewarded for it. Or when I put myself out there, I am rewarded, or people support me or whatever. But writing a new positive story that empowers you to go after what you're called to do.
I absolutely love that. And I have shared a piece of this probably on live before, but for me personally, I was listening to the audiobook, The Big Leap. I don't know if you've listened to that one.
Yes. Yes.
I do
great
too.
Book.
And that is one of the audiobooks that I had my biggest personal aha moment listening to it. And it was some of that similar messaging about thinking about your childhood and what messages you received. And I honestly had never consciously realized until listening to that book. And I was driving down the road and I suddenly had like a brain flash where I flashed back in time. And I had this flashback of being I was probably early high school, and I was always like the honor roll student and the cheerleader. And, I was that kid. And my sister was the kid that was smoking and drinking and detention all the time and really struggling in school and was not bringing home the good grades. So we were like night and day.
Wow.
And I remembered bringing home my report card, and I was so excited to show my dad all my A's. And he looked at my report card and his response was, "That's great. Too bad your sister would never do that." And I flashed back and I suddenly realized how much guilt I felt throughout my entire life anytime I achieved success. Wow. And that I felt like my success was going to negatively impact my sister. And it was one of those, like, I felt like I had been like hit, like I was like, oh my gosh, how did I never see this before? And I was telling one of my work friends then, I was like, oh my gosh, you will not believe what I realized today. And I'm like, I need to rewrite this story. Like, we are we are grown ass adults now.
Yep.
My sister's not going to get yelled at for me succeeding. And I truly realized how much I had held myself back in life because I wanted to live in this little bubble of just staying in that zone where I was doing okay, but that nothing would reflect poorly on her. And she is a very flourishing, successful adult now. You know, her life, everything got straightened out for her after high school. But I was still just living under that mindset. I think it was so similar to your experience with the eating disorder and how it had impacted all of these decisions. And it's really hard to see how something like that is impacting your decisions at the time.
Totally. And I think with like, it might actually have been serving you at the time to keep you safe and keep your sister safe. It might have for a brief period, but we held on to it for years and years and years and years and years too long. And eventually the story is outdated and it's no longer serving anyone and certainly not you. So there has to be a time where you're willing to let it go. And when you do, it's like, oh my God, now everything's going to change so much.
Yes. Yeah. It's almost, I don't know, shocking maybe. I was just like, how did I never see this? Like, oh my gosh. And then I could think about, you know, that was just one example of it, but it was time and time again of good for you. Your sister wouldn't do that. Good for you. Yeah. She's not capable of that. Good for you. I wish she would do that. You know, it was just that constant messaging that I received that just really impacted and influenced who I was. So I love that you broke it down into these 3 steps. I feel like that's kind of the process that I unknowingly had gone through back at that time, but never really thought about it in those 3-step terms. I love that. I think that'll help so many people when they're dealing with things and going through it to really look at it in these 3 steps. And I think the rewriting it is what's so powerful too, because otherwise you can just keep making the decisions based on that fear or that messaging. So I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. And feel free to use this even for the really little stuff that you feel like you would just usually throw in the back of your mind and forget about. You can use it for really little everyday fears and then also really big, like kind of more traumatic experiences like we've talked about today.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. I love it. So let's talk a little bit more about your journey because you had worked through all of this. You've worked through the eating disorder, you had the kind of negative responses from your loved ones. You did these 3 steps. You're actually going to go forward now and you're going to start this business. Did you know exactly what you wanted it to look like at that point with combining all these different interests and skills and trainings that you had? Did you know exactly what you wanted the Goddess Brand Co. to look like at that time?
Yeah, so fortunately I really had a lot of clarity on all of that because I basically had went through the exact same process when I was building my business that I now teach others. So I'd done all the spiritual work. I knew how I wanted it to look. I had the clarity. And then of course I had all the business training as well. And I had created everything in the background. So I had the website, I had all the graphics, I had the social media, I had the blogs drafted and ready to put out there, you know, but it was just about like hitting the send button and going for it.
Okay. And did you build your website and everything yourself, or did you hire that stuff out because you were still in college at this point then, correct? Or had you graduated?
Yeah. So I was in college. I was teaching over 20 hours of yoga a week and I built the business in like 4 months.
Oh my gosh.
So
you just didn't sleep. You just didn't sleep is what I'm hearing.
Somehow I did. I don't know. I don't know what I did. It's such a whirlwind, but yeah. But yeah, I did. I DIY'd the website and actually to this day, I still do all my own design and graphics. I am getting to the point now where I'm looking to start outsourcing work, but now I'm dealing with like a new fear, which is like the control freak fear and trying to let go of that. So I need to do the 3-step process for the control freak in me. But to this day, yeah, I do all the work myself, which is something that I'm really proud of.
Yeah, that's awesome. Kudos to you. So let's talk about, we're at about the 35-minute mark here. So let's talk about first your top 2 tips, and then we'll close with the special offer that you wanted to extend the Girls Talk Business viewers. So do you have your top 2 tips in front of you, or do you need a reminder from me?
I do have them. I came prepared.
Awesome.
Okay. So I wanted to give tips today kind of in alignment with how I run my business and what we've been talking about today. So I'm going to give 1 spiritual tip and 1 business strategy tip.
Love it.
Okay. So going to start with the business strategy tip, and it's in regards to goal setting. So when you're setting goals for your business and you think that you're being specific, the tip is to get even more specific. So it's not enough to say, I want more clients, or I need more money, or I want more followers on social media. you need to get super clear about the numbers and start breaking your goals down into months and weeks and even days in some cases. And you need to be saying like how many clients, how much money, what program, and how many of each program, what's the time frame, etc. And the reason you need to do this is twofold. First, it's going to give you so much more clarity as to what action steps you need to take when you have your goals so clearly set out in front of you. And if you think about like, you don't want to keep treating your business like a hobby. You want to treat it like a legitimate business. And if you think about how a CEO of a Fortune 500 company would be setting goals, they're not going to say, hey guys, we need to make more money this year. They're going to be very, very clear about what that looks like, how much money that is specifically, and then what the action steps are to actually get there, right?
Yes.
And then it's also important for the co-creation process. So that you can do your part, and then higher power, whether that's the universe or God or whatever, can do their part. So you can really be a part of like a bigger mission than just doing it all yourself. Because if you just kind of say, I want consistency, that might look like 1 client a month from a higher power, but for you, it might actually need to be 4 clients a month.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
So
I love that.
Yeah. Okay. And then the spiritual tip is to just surrender and trust. So this goes back to what I was saying about being a control freak. I think so many of us are control freaks, and rightfully so. This is our business. We don't want it to, if anything happened, we would take the full responsibility for that.
Yep.
So it makes sense. But we kind of buy into the lie that we have to micromanage every single detail of our business. And the reality is we don't. We have the opportunity to co-create with a higher power. And so often when we do surrender to a plan that's bigger than us, so much more becomes possible, and things that we couldn't have even imagined start to become available to us because we're working with something bigger. And we lose that super desperate, salesy, hyper salesy energy that nobody really resonates with anyway. We just kind of trust that it's going to work out. And as long as we're taking the action, we're going to be rewarded for that.
I love that. Those are both such powerful tips. I hope everybody who catches this really takes those to heart and really thinks about how specific, because I know, especially in the early stages of entrepreneurship, people think they're being specific with their goals when, like you said, I want to make more money, or I want to, have more clients, and it's just that's not specific. So I love that. Let's talk now about the offer that you wanted to share with the Girls Talk Business viewers.
Okay, amazing. So I mentioned that I work with people in a few different ways, and this conversation happened to fall right in the middle of a launch that I'm doing for a group program called Inspired Business Bootcamp. So it's starting in the new year. It's a 90-day group coaching experience in spiritual alignment, online business foundations, and mega success. So
I love it.
In terms of what's included, you're getting 12 weeks of support and accountability from myself and like-minded other women. You're getting 10 modules of digital course content. You're getting 2 group coaching calls a month. You're getting a private Facebook group. And what I'm so excited about is an in-person event in South Beach, Miami. So we're all going to meet up in person and work on our businesses together, do yoga, take, high vibe lunches and dinners and other excursions together.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
I'm super excited about
When are you doing the retreat piece of it?
So that will be in March time. It's like a 3-month program. So January, February, March, it'll be kind of at the end of the program.
Awesome.
And yeah, so I do have a few exciting bonuses that I want to extend to anyone who either watched live or is watching on the replay. So you can save, if you book a call with me before Tuesday of next week, so the 18th, you can save $250 off either level 1 or level 2 VIP. You will get a bonus orientation call with me and the other early birds. You can get an extended payment plan and divide payments into 6 payments as opposed to 3. And then what I'm most excited about is the first 2 people to sign up are going to come to the spa with me in Miami. So
wow.
I'm treating you like the boss babe that you are. We're going to the spa. We're going to do the whole thing. It's going to be like a VIP luxury day. And
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Amazing. And when does enrollment close for this?
So enrollment for the early bird, that's going to close on December 18th.
Okay.
And then the rest of the launch will kind of go through right when the program starts, which is January 1st.
Awesome. That is absolutely amazing. Thank you for sharing that with our viewers. And I will make sure to update the description of our video here with your offer so that people can see that right away.
Amazing.
This is so exciting. I love it. Kristen, thank you, thank you, thank you for coming on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been so much fun to connect and share my story with you guys. And yeah, so excited to connect with another entrepreneur from Michigan as well.
I know. We will definitely have to meet face-to-face sometime coming up here. That would be amazing. And I hope that if anybody watching the replay, if you have questions about Kristen's 3 steps that she said or about anything else, just drop them in the comments. Kristen and I will both read through and respond to any comments that are left.
Absolutely.
And Kristen, thank you again. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your Friday night.
Thank you so much, Kim. Same to you.
Thanks. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody.